What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Horns Forward podcast, where we talk all about San Antonio Brahma football. And it's always good to join you, everybody, here on a Victory Monday. I'm your host, Viva Texas, joined by the fabulous Brahmasita 210 Brahmasita, Miss Jackie, Mr. GJ King Mars, and SAJ, the loudest, angriest fan, causing havoc on the opponent's uh, bench, which many people from the other teams can probably tell you.
Yep.
So let's kick things off by talking about what we saw yesterday. So who wants to jump into that one?
Oh, I could start it off.
Go ahead. Yeah. What'd you see? What'd you like? What you didn't like?
Okay, so I like how we established the run. Another big game for Jaquez Patrick. Jack Cohn did mix it up a little bit. I see him going down the field. Got
hmm
Toivonen and Nick Holly on some big passes. Toivonen with the touchdown. Nick Holly with the big gain. That was the biggest play I think they said of the season for us. I think like 41 yards or something. Um, Defense, being with dealing with defense do, getting turnovers, getting some sacks. But like I know I said it to a friend of mine earlier. I like the win, but I don't want to be that Debbie Downer. I'm just not impressed, man. It's the Orlando Guardians. I'm not
No, I feel
impressed.
I feel you. I feel you.
True.
Bro, I'm glad we won, but I know it was a must-win game, but I'm just like, man, come on, can we get a formidable win? We got if we beat DC, I might go to the game with no shirt on. That's what I'm
Well,
saying. I might no not go to the game, but lead the game with no shirt on. That's how it's gonna go.
well, you also
I'm
gotta.
gonna have a tank top on underneath though, but I ain't gonna
Hey,
have.
whatever we need to do to help the team get the win, right?
So you know shirt too?
I mean, I'll do it.
I,
I'll get kicked out, but I'll
I,
do it.
I was no shirt at the tailgate for a little bit, so that worked. So
Tailgate
There,
was
there are
wild.
there is some there is some evidence to prove that statement is true.
yeah,
Yeah,
so I guess
but overall, good
shirts
win, man.
off. Yeah,
Good win
no,
overall.
it was, and one of the things you have to remember is that as the season has progressed, and this is league wide, I feel like the offenses have started to catch up with the strength of the defense. So the XFL has been a defense heavy league from the very beginning, and the offenses were all very lackluster from the start. But I think they have started to catch up. So what we saw from Orlando, it was definitely a different Orlando team than the first one that we faced. But this was also a different Brahmas team. And as we've seen the last 2 weeks, especially, being at home, the offense has definitely, I feel like, turned a corner. Um,
Mhm.
they haven't circled the block, but they've turned a corner.
Yeah.
Um, and definitely from where they were playing 5 weeks ago, where they were just horrendous. Now there were still some protection questions on from the outside that I wasn't happy with, but I did see that there was a lot more time. There was holes opening up. There were a lot more. It was Jack Cohn looked a lot more comfortable behind the line. He was a lot more mobile. There was pockets that were being formed, and he played with confidence. And I think you could see that from the stands very comfortably, in that he's feeling a lot more like the Jack Cohn that I think was being drafted when the decision to draft him was made. I think we're finally starting to see that Jack Cohn shine and come out of his shell. He's I think he's starting to feel more comfortable with San Antonio, with the fans, with the team. He's come back from injury, and I think he definitely used that time in injury to definitely study the playbook a little bit more, study more film, and it's starting to show. It's starting to pay dividends, and I think the hard work that he's been putting in all season, despite the criticism that he's been receiving consistently from the fans, which I know is visible. People share stuff. I'm sure he sees it. Despite the criticism, he still shows up and he balled out last game. So hats off to Jack Cohn for definitely stepping up and he becoming definitely be stepping into more of that leader role that the offense was sorely lacking. Along with Jacquez Patrick, and then the receiving core. You had Nick Hawley and T.J. Vasher, the dual threat there. They were definitely balling out. Alize Mack, he was being utilized more as a
And that
receiving
drop
tight end.
pass, bro.
There was a couple drop passes,
Him and
yeah,
Yelder, I was like, bro.
but it's nice to be able to see that they were utilizing
Yeah.
more in the passing game and not necessarily having um to keep him back to block because of the weakness of the offensive line. Now I know one of our offensive linemen did go down injured. I hope he's okay. I saw him, going with the towel over his head, tears in
Yeah,
his
Nolan
eyes,
Price.
going off on the gator. Um, I hope nothing but the best for him. But usually, when you see something like that, that
It's
ain't
bad.
good. It's probably going to be an ACL or something along those lines that usually plagues offensive linemen. So I hope nothing but the best and a speedy recovery for him. But Norman Price, I hope he's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, and now as far as a couple things that I wanted to touch on, and this isn't even anything related to the players. You know, I hate to call it out, but officiating, it was inconsistent, and that
Right.
wasn't just our game. It was league wide. Like there was
Across.
across the board, there was so much inconsistency with calls. There was pass interferences, offensive and defensive, that weren't called on both sides. There was holding on their there was some blatant holding. You cannot block a defensive end like this.
Mhm.
But I saw it happen multiple times,
Mm-hmm.
and no flags were thrown, and even Coach Ward called it out. Where he told the sideline reporter, we've seen a couple flags out there, and he's like, I just want to see some consistency, from that standpoint, and so I think that's something that needs to be evaluated in the off season, is the consistency of the officiating, because I know that's been a little bit shaky. Throughout the season, and I'd say of both teams, I would say the officiating had to have been the weakest point of the game, in my opinion.
Very true. So I'm going to tag off a little bit of what you're saying there with consistency, and kind of flip this back towards the team. One thing I've noticed is marked consistency with the team these last two games. We're definitely showing improvement. Jorge, like you said, the team has turned the corner, right? Um, we definitely don't want them to circle the block, because I'm afraid if we circle the block, we're going to go right back where we started from, which is inconsistent play, right?
Right.
I want them to get on the highway. I want them to open it up. I want them to see just how fast this machine can actually go. And I think this is some, cautious optimism here, but I think we're finally starting to find the right combination, especially with the addition of
Mm-hmm.
Holly. Now we've got two speedsters. We've got Holly and Basher that can really cut you deep. And we've got an offensive line that's actually making some good holds and some good stops to give Cone some opportunities to get that ball up in the air. And I really think our chances are much better now. If you would have asked me last week before the game, before seeing, Holly and Vasher and just the combination of everybody, Patrick, all those guys, I would have said that our chances were probably pretty slim with DC. I'm a lot more optimistic about our chances now against DC. Uh, Especially like if they pull an NFL and rest their starters, I think we have a great chance to win that game, get into the playoffs, and then we can go exact our revenge against Houston for them being Houston, right? So I'm very positively encouraged, and you guys know me. I mean, I was not initially on board. I mean, I'll admit it here, right? I was not initially on board when we found out about the team name, when we found out about the team colors, right? I was I was not a proponent of this whole system,
You're not lying.
but it grew on me and it became a part of what I'm passionate about. And so from, you know, the fan fests, all the stuff that we've done to get to this point, you know, this has become my team and I'm going to support it through thick and thin. And especially seeing how hard the team played on Saturday, that is the perfect embodiment of the spirit of San Antonio. Now, these guys go out there and they're giving their all. Sometimes it works our way, sometimes it doesn't, but they don't give up until the final whistle blows. And I think that's the perfect embodiment of what this whole culture here is about here in San Antonio. And that to me was what was most encouraging, was finally seeing that, you know, kind of culminate into that first victory at home.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think well, my whole day was just crazy, so I did have to rewatch the game today. Just and even just rewatching it, I like literally felt the same excitement like I was watching it for the first time. Um, I was not initially a Cone fan from the beginning, but look, y'all, he made it. He made it. I made a
Oh
sign for
my
him.
goodness.
Nice,
Oh, that's
He
cold
gets
though.
a
nice.
sign. He gets a sign. This is from Viva, Texas. I kept hearing him say it, and he deserves some recognition and to see that
The
fans
cone zone.
are behind him because I was very impressed with him, and especially Patrick. Like, oh man,
Girl, I need to make that
feed
into a
the
whole banner.
beast,
Mm.
Section
feed the
what?
beast.
Section
108, the
108
cone
is going to
108
zone.
is
be the
cone
cone
zone.
zone. This is the
Yes,
cone zone.
and just watching Patrick just like feed him, man, he was just going at it. So I just saw
Yep.
a whole different Brahmas than what I was used to, and it just made it that much more exciting. So good game. It was a good game.
Yeah, no, I mean it was. I think it was. I mean, again, we have to remember it's the caveat. It was against Orlando. Granted, it is a rising Orlando, and as it was mentioned last week, they were going to throw the book at us, and they did. They got us with the fake punt, and
Mm.
their punter looked like
Mhm.
Tom Brady there for a second.
Man.
It
He
was
psyched us big time.
that
Man.
Psych.
you
The
know, and
Yep.
Blandino.
the and
Pulled a
honestly,
Charlie
man,
Brown on us.
that whole it just bugged the crap out of me that they called it the Blandino because I
Ugh.
I know he said he's like I have to be impartial to it, but I was hoping it went well. It's like bullshit, man. You were gonna
Man.
make sure that
Right.
thing went.
Favoritism.
You were gonna make sure that that thing went through without any flags, and if there were flags, they were gonna be overturned. Like, come on,
Hmm.
let's be real.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I mean, like I said, it was the best game I think that we have definitely witnessed in person. At least the one that I have witnessed in person. They definitely played better yesterday than they played against Arlington when we were there. Definitely against uh Las Vegas. That was I think the worst game of the
That
season
was.
for them.
That was.
But ever since then, they've been on a turning point. Even though that loss against Houston 2 weeks
That was
ago,
a good game too,
that
man.
was a
It was close.
gritty,
Came down to the
gritty
wire.
fight to the
Very
end.
Yep.
Like
close.
they put Houston on the ropes in a way that Houston has not been. And it's the same thing. Like they did the same thing to them in week 3. They shut
Yes.
them out in the second half.
Yes.
And at that point, nobody had done that. And this is, I think San Antonio is quickly becoming a thorn in Houston's side, whereas I have a feeling that Houston would much
Good.
rather play the
Arlington.
Renegades
Yeah.
this in the playoffs versus San Antonio because
Third time's
Arlington
a charm.
That's what I'm about to
um
say. Third time the
Third
charm.
time's a
like
charm.
Yep.
and the thing is that Houston already knows San Antonio will show up to that game. um Arlington will not. They don't travel. That they just don't.
Mm.
But San Antonio, we will travel to
This
Houston for
time we'll
that
be
playoff game.
together. This time we'll be
Um,
Yep.
together.
and the fans know that, the team knows that, and I think that that's something that just gives them a little bit more motivation going into Houston, especially with it being a Saturday game. I don't got to wake up on Monday on 4 in the morning to drive back and go to work. In San Antonio after going to a game in Houston on a Sunday. I'm glad that it's a Saturday game, But we got to get through DC first, and we got to hope that Arlington loses before we can start planning for that. So this weekend, I like that all the games matter. All the games have an impact, both
There
in
you
the
go,
north
Brian. There you
and
go,
the
Brian.
south.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this, I like this right here. Championship will be San Antonio versus
Hey,
Seattle.
don't feel the advantage.
I,
Don't feel the advantage.
I can see it. I can see San Antonio being the Cinderella story, and Seattle coming out with Gucci Danucci's attitude and taking it to DC. And
Yep.
because the thing is that even though, so in the North you got DC, or you got Seattle and St. Louis fighting for the second spot. The thing is that Seattle has so many of the tiebreakers in favor of them should they both
Mhm.
win, that it's a lot more likely that like Seattle's really got to blow it in order for them to not make the playoffs. So I really see Seattle making it to DC over St. Louis. I think that St. Louis is regressing, similar to how Houston has been regressing over these past couple of weeks. And I think we're starting to see a shift at where the teams at the bottom of the league, that being us, Vegas, San Antonio, Orlando,
Arlington.
we no, not them. I still don't see them
He said
being that
no.
great. But
Uh-oh.
the bottom
Uh-oh.
the bottom three teams have
Mhm.
been turning it around. Granted,
Yeah.
Vegas and Orlando, it's been too little, too late. They're already
I th-
eliminated.
I think Arlington got their
Mhm.
quarterback though.
Arlington's got Luis Perez. Yes, he does. They
He was
do.
getting knocked around though this
But
last
Yeah.
Yeah,
game. He's
the
getting
thing
knocked
yeah,
is
they've
around.
got
that
their quarterback. They still don't have a team.
I think is
Um,
yeah. I don't see with what I saw this past weekend against DC. I didn't see Arlington taking it to DC. I saw DC collapsing,
Yeah.
mhm.
which brings me to my next point: the Great Wave
They better
debate.
collapse here in San Antonio. I know that.
Oh yeah, I agree.
We
They,
hope
they
Maybe
so.
Collapse here.
maybe that's
that,
what they need is us to just push them over that edge now.
Well, and I
Yeah.
think that DC is starting to have that tendency of where they're starting to overlook teams where that are
Mm.
clearly weaker than them. I mean, we saw that obviously versus Orlando, versus Arlington. We also saw that is definitely a weaker team than DC, and they let it go in the last 5 minutes of the game. And let DC take or let Arlington take them to overtime when they really should not have gone to overtime. It really should have been a done deal, but they were not careful with the ball. And but
Let, let me jump in real quick. We're
yeah,
not going to be having a debate about the wave. That point has been already settled and moved on. So thanks, Chris. We're moving on though.
yeah,
Jorge, take it away.
yeah. So, um,
Period.
but yeah, so as far as like I said, going back to Arlington and DC, I just don't think that Arlington doesn't have a complete team. I think they still are trying to figure things out. There's still a lot of moving pieces there. You see Bob Stoops frustrated on the sideline, and the thing is that if there's going to be a resting of players, which I don't think that there will be,
Mm.
unless a team has a comfortable lead, and I'm talking about a 30 plus point lead going into the fourth quarter, I don't see the resting of players because, one, like I've said before, they're using this as an opportunity to showcase their talent for the NFL.
Correct.
Um, and yeah, I mean, you want to get the backups some opportunities to do so, but you don't want to do it at the expense of a win. And in Houston's case, they certainly cannot afford to do that against Arlington because they are a team that is regressing. They are a team that is taking steps backwards week in and week out. And you don't want to do that going into the playoffs, knowing that you have home field advantage and be a team that's taking steps backwards. So I don't see Houston resting its players because you give them 1 week. You give them, let's say, a bye week, and you put your seconds, you put your twos in against Arlington. When you put the ones back in, that's a week's worth of rust that just built up on them.
Mhm.
And yeah, they may be healed up and they, some of the bruises may be feeling a little bit better, but that's also 1 week less of game speed experience that they don't have. Whereas the Brahmas will. The Brahmas are bringing the house because they have to. They're playing for their lives. So I don't see either team, Houston or DC, resting their starters. One, again, for the NFL scouts, and two, especially Houston, they can't let their foot off the gas if they want to. If they're at this point, if they want to compete for the XFL championship, which I feel like the attitude has kind of shifted a little bit in the teams to where now that we're getting into playoff mode, it's now let's go win this damn thing, and less of okay, like while we're doing it, let's show off for the NFL scouts, sure. But I see the mentality shifting of let's go win this thing. Let's go win a championship for our city. Um, and especially with how the DC fan base has been growing, that's something that the players over there are feeding off of. The Seattle fan base has been eating up Gucci Danucci's attitude. Um, you know, Houston is still kind of stagnant at the 10,000 mark, but the diehards that are there, they're diehards. I got to give credit where credit's due. When I was there, the people that were there were excited to be there. Um, it wasn't like Las Vegas where they were just there because they probably found a ticket on the street somewhere. Um, these fans were passionate. They were there because they wanted to be there. And I think that the players are starting to realize that the XFL is more than just a proving ground for the NFL, but it's also a sense of pride for these cities that they represent. Especially here in San Antonio. You heard it time in and time again. All the players, the coaches, they said we wanted to win this one for the fans because they know how much we've been showing out. They know how active we've been. They know how engaged we've been with the team. So to see that they care so much about the fan base, it means a lot to me. Makes me want to show up and show out even more. Um, but it makes me proud to be a Brahma, proud to be a fan of the XFL because it's not just me ball. It's guys that are playing for a purpose for a city. Given it's a city that they don't. This is the amazing part for me. It's a city that they don't live in, that they have probably very little connection to, but when they're here, the fans make all the difference in the world to them, and they love them.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I think this win. I mean, well, I'm hoping that we win, but this this game means so much, man. You don't understand. Me being from DC and being a fan in 2020, now moving to San Antonio, and now they getting a team. So I'm like, I didn't know that we was having the XFL back. So once they bought it and they brung San Antonio here, I was like, oh, what a coincidence. We get a team here in San Antonio. I get to go to the game. So, but this is a big win, man, and I hope we can bring it home. But this for all the marbles, man. This for all the
Yep.
marbles. This means everything. So they gotta come out, man, and they gotta like I said earlier, like this game is it's gonna be close. It's not gonna be no blowout. I don't see Abram
No,
going crazy over no 100 yards. That's not happening.
no.
Our defense, I don't even think we held it. I don't think anybody had over 100 yards on us. Our defense is still the number one scoring defense in the league. Like, come on, they're not about to come in here and destroy nothing.
No,
They not
it's gonna be
defending
a
nothing.
it's
It's
gonna
gonna be
be
a
a
good
close
game.
game. It's
Yeah.
gonna be a close game. It's gonna be a defensive struggle. And let's see, this one right here. So the fans of Vegas were given a poor excuse for a professional stadium, sort of set the tone for the fans there. And I agree with Harry that they were given a poor excuse for a professional stadium. It was a last minute scramble to get Cashman Field. But being there in person, I can tell you that they don't like there's no excitement. There's like the most exciting thing there is the DJ. And having have had a Vegas fan come up to me after the game saying you gave this crowd the most life that you have given it because I was intentionally starting the wave to curse them. Um
Not the
like
wave.
yeah, like I did it on purpose, but they saw it as like, oh, that guy's having a good time. But I was like, no. And I mean, I look, I'm not gonna get into the whole wave deal, but like go you can go watch my videos. The proof is there. I got plenty. I've got 5 examples of what happens when it happens. So um
I seen it. My
yeah,
own
so
eyes. I
Yep.
so
seen it.
but yeah, so moving on beyond the wave, you know, tailgating update. So for everybody who isn't aware, and this is no fault of the Brahmas. I want to make that 100% clear. This is no fault of the Brahmas. Um, tailgating at the Alamo Dome is not going to be allowed. Fiesta, and I'm going to call them out because I don't care. The Fiesta Commission has pulled the plug on the tailgate at the Alamo Dome. Why? Because they want to have parking for their carnival. I can guarantee that they are going to lose out on parking revenue because they had rabid fans looking that have been looking forward to this specific game specifically because it was going to be the Fiesta game is what we've been calling it, the Fiesta game. And how ironic that a an organization called Fiesta says no Fiesta, no, no Fiesta.
Our last game.
And yeah, like I'm upset with the Fiesta Commission. I'm very upset with them. This is the first time that we have ever had professional football in San Antonio at the same time as Fiesta, and they can't share it for half a day. The stadium, the parking lot. They can't share it for half a day. You give it. Look, the carnival don't start till 11, right? No one's going to be in line waiting for the carnival, but there will be people waiting in line to get into the Brahmas game. You know, and if you want people to come to your carnival after the game, then be more welcoming. Don't kick us out of our own parking lot. But I can guarantee you right now, you've left such a bad taste in the fans in the mouths of Brahmas fans that no one's going to want to go to the carnival after the game. They're going to want to go somewhere else to celebrate.
I think
Um,
it. I think it's gonna look bad too on the future.
I,
And I know you said it had nothing to do with the Brahmas, but it's gonna look bad for us on the future. I know we spoke about it earlier, but come on, like this is gonna happen every week 10 every year. Like this can't happen because we're gonna have to play away games. We're not gonna play any
Yeah,
more
that's the only
week
way.
10 games in the dome. That's what they're saying.
yeah,
That's
like
not
I
fair.
mean, because then that's putting us in like the Spurs rodeo road trip.
Go ahead, Jay.
so I'm gonna take the opposite side of this argument, guys. Like I get where you're coming from on this.
Uh oh. Uh
I
oh.
don't know that it's necessarily like the Fiesta committee's deal necessarily. Fiesta's been in the Alamo Dome parking lot for years before we had to even worry about any kind of contention with the XFL or anything like that. I think it was just a series of bad events. I'm sure the XFL will plan better for the next year. I think this is just the way the schedule kind of broke down, and this is what we got. And yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, it really stinks. But I don't think that the Fiesta Committee is intentionally trying to rile up the feathers of Brahmas fans or anything like that, or isolate them in any way, shape, or form. In fact, if they probably would have had a little bit more opportunity to plan it better, they probably could have worked out some kind of a deal where you got like a double event kind of pass, right? Where you got to get into lot C and for 10 extra dollars, you get to stay for the carnival or something like that. I just think there was too many logistical problems for them to be able to work something out like that in such a short amount of time once they realized, there was going to be a conflict there. So they just said, you know what, forget it. We're only going to open up the one lot and we'll just figure it out later. So I'm willing to bet you that come next year, there will be a much more peaceful solution for everybody across the board, whether
Oh,
it be opening up additional lots or doing the two for deal like we just talked about or anything like that.
Oh, away
So
game.
I get your
Yeah,
frustration,
away
Jorge.
game.
I do, you know, um, but I want to try and remain a little bit more positively optimistic for my from my standpoint that I think this is just an unfortunate series of events and it'll all be resolved by next year.
no, I agree. They have a whole off season to plan, but to counter your point, they also had 2.5 months, and this is just from when the season started. They had much more time before that, knowing that there was going to be a game on April 22nd in the Alamo
Mhm.
Dome, where they could have worked something out. Fiesta and the XFL could have come together and say, hey, how are we going to do this, rather than say, we're not going to sell you parking passes, we'll figure it out later. It's
Can
been 2.5 months of planning.
can you put up Harry's comment real quick? This I fully
Yeah.
support,
Yeah,
right?
I
It
100%.
it if it truly is an issue, let's make our voices known with our money. If
Yeah.
this parking thing has bothered you that much, then fully, boycott going to the Fiesta Carnival. Let your voices be heard through that, right? If we're not buying tickets to go into Lot C and go into the carnival event and everything,
I'm sure they
they'll
can,
feel it in the
Brian.
pocketbooks, and they'll definitely make adjustments next year. Guarantee you,
Yeah.
because let's say even 30% of the fans from the XFL game are going to be going to the carnival, because I mean, we're going to have some numbers this week. This
Why
is
they didn't?
not
Why
only
they didn't
was
use the
this a game.
Spurs parking lot?
Because so the tradition is to use the Alamo Dome because it's downtown. That has
Okay.
been so the Fiesta. So for anybody who's
I'm not
not
familiar with the
TJ.
Fiesta. Y'all,
so
I know
so
y'all filling me in, but
for
golly,
any
man, it's
for
like because
anybody,
I'm just answering Brian's question because he
yeah,
was like, I know it's
so
another piece of land somewhere. Yes, we can
for
use the AT&T
the-
Center parking lot.
for
But it's
anybody who
far
So
so here's the thing, for
from all
anybody
the festival
who's
events.
drive.
not
Let that man
from San
talk.
Antonio.
Yep, yep, yep.
For anybody who's not from San Antonio, historically, the Alamo Dome has hosted the Fiesta Carnival because it is downtown, and a lot of the Fiesta events are downtown, such as Niosa, such as Fiesta. You know, a lot of the Fiesta headquarters, Market Square, every day of
Market Square.
Fiesta, like it's all centralized in downtown, so they put it
Hmm.
there for that specific purpose.
Mhm.
And granted, for the longest time in the spring, the Alamo Dome was not being used, so I get where they're coming from, where hey, like you guys haven't used the Alamo Dome ever, and we're not gonna change that. But the you know the pandemic sure showed us that you can change like that. So why not change like that again when we have something that people are actually interested in coming to and participating in?
Mm,
But suddenly, we can't.
So
Roger's
unfortunately, this
comment.
is.
I remember
Uh,
that
uh,
that Kmart, Roger. That's old school.
oh, you getting your
Okay.
comments
Yeah,
below? Oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Said
So
And
unfortunately, this is even though it was said that it didn't fall on the Brahmas, so technically it did fall on the Brahmas because it's like a logistic problem, like you said. This just should have been
mhm,
something that was discussed before
Well, the
they
thing
made the
is
schedule.
as far as I've been aware, is we were under the impression that we were going to be able to share the parking lot with carnival goers, still be
Yeah,
allowed
I remember
tailgating.
that. I remember that.
hmm
mhm.
And it wasn't until Sunday, this past
Mm,
yesterday, that the plug was pulled out of nowhere saying no tailgating. Sorry.
yeah.
mm.
Mhm.
So there, there was no logistical, I guess, nightmare to overcome, because the fact of the matter is that everyone was under the impression that Fiesta was willing to play ball with the Brahmas, but they came out of nowhere and said, no, we're not going to. It's our parking lot, not yours. You can park there for the game, but you can't do what you're going to normally do.
Right.
So,
Well, technically, though, that would still fall back on the Alamo Dome, though, not necessarily the
I feel
Fiesta
like
Committee.
it's the dome.
The
It's
dome,
not
yeah.
Yeah.
it's not
So it's not that
Fiesta.
it's not Fiesta that's telling the Alamo Dome what to do with their parking lot. It's the Alamo Dome making the decisions on what's going to happen in their parking lot because it's
That's
their
on their
property.
lot. Yeah.
Okay,
and
so what
Yeah.
alternatives we have so we can kind of squash this?
so I can tell you right now, we've been in contact with a couple of local businesses around the Alamo Dome. Unfortunately, they are unable to host the tailgate. So that is out of the question. So if you've been calling local businesses around the area of the Alamo Dome, don't waste your time. We've already tried that. They are unfortunately unable to host. We have been given a lead to potential empty parking lots around the Alamo Dome. That falls under the City of San Antonio
Yeah,
Parking
probably the city.
Enforcement.
The city.
Yeah, that's the City of San Antonio Parking Enforcement.
So
We need
not
to
the
get in
dome, the
contact.
city.
not the dome. It's with the city. We need to contact them,
Mhm.
and that's something that we're going to try to be working on, in the next day or two, to try to get a solution as soon as possible. We're also thinking, hey, why don't the idea's been thrown out? Why don't we tailgate at the park and ride and just park and ride down there and tailgate in a different part of the city, a remote tailgate? That's been thrown out there. Is that feasible? I don't know. Probably not, but we're gonna try it. We don't, you don't know unless you try. Um,
Right.
so we the problem is with a lot of these parking lots is that some of them are owned by the city of San Antonio. Yes, but they are managed by out of state companies. So we would
Mhm.
have to talk to the management of the parking lot, which is going to be somewhere in Ohio or Tennessee or Kansas or wherever. Um, and they have to be okay with it.
He can be
Um,
so mad when he comes back.
but getting them is
Put
going
that
to
comment
be,
up when he comes back.
yeah, I will. But getting them to play ball, they don't care. Like they really don't care. They don't understand because they're not here. So, um,
Right. But I
and
think
that's the thing is, I'm just like I hate to be angry and negative, but it's just been
No,
it's
it's
been
just it's called passionate.
it's one of those
right.
days.
It's it
Like look, I love San Antonio. I love Fiesta. I got the damn charm right here.
Yeah, I just came from the
And
basement.
yeah,
yes.
so
But
yeah,
okay, to
Why would you pin
capitalize
that comment?
right there.
to
Oh my
capitalize on
goodness.
Jorge's passion there, and what Cisco is saying, your podcast staff and several members of the Horns Forward page are working on solutions. And as soon
Yeah.
as we find something that works for everybody, we are going to blast it out on every
Yes.
social media avenue that we can find. Okay. If we don't
And
find something, we'll let you guys know so you're not sitting on pins and needles waiting. But just know that there are several passionate fans, such as Jorge and everybody else in this group, just as yourselves that are watching. We are looking for solutions, and we as soon as we come up with something, we will let everybody know, and we'll rally around that, and we're going to have a good time. That's the
yeah,
most important thing.
We accepting ideas as well, right?
yeah,
Hmm.
we are accepting
Yeah.
ideas. If
Outside
anybody
the
knows
box.
anybody who's got connections, you know how San Antonio works. It's the compadre system. If you have a compadre that works somewhere, definitely, let us know. Get us in
I mean, it's like
contact
a
with your
hookup,
compadre.
DJ.
Then it's and we'll explore that avenue. We will not leave any stone unturned, and we will make sure that there is something for us to do before the game on Saturday as much as we can, as best as possible. And if we can't, then that just means we're going to have to go extra hard in the dome. Um,
Yep.
but
I'll even
but
tailgate in a parking garage, guys. Like wherever we can find something. I don't care.
Houston
I
style,
saw him do it
that's
in St. Louis.
they did it
Okay.
in Houston too.
Yeah.
Like
So
like
we'll find a solution, guys. And if we
it,
don't, then we'll rally at the dome. Plain and
yeah.
simple.
Then we'll just make more noise at the dome, and we'll be an angry crowd at the dome, which
Yes.
I think will play in our favor. I know I sure is if I'm gonna be very very angry if I cannot do what I do before a football game because I spent a lot of good money to be able to be a part of the XFL, and be a season ticket member, and to get this yanked away from me by someone who is not part of the XFL, someone who thinks they rule because they've been there longer. No, I don't like being bullied, and I don't like just because we're the little guys, that I'm just gonna sit down and take it. No, and I wait for the any chance I get a survey from any fiesta event that I may go to that will not be the carnival. I'm going to write on there, you stole the Brahmas tailgate and put it in the suggestion box.
Right
I
there.
will
And
make
that's walking distance too.
I will make my
Oh, they
voice
gonna
heard.
they gonna see this. They gonna see this for sure. I know they is.
Yep.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like
They gonna see all
I'm
this.
like I am I mean I wouldn't even call it upset. I am angry at the situation. And trust me, y'all, we're working our hardest to try to find a solution. And this is a solution like the team's hands are tied. There's nothing that they can really do. They've done everything
Hmm.
that they can. So this is going to be something that's by the fans for the fans, kind of like our very first get-togethers. We're going to have to do a grassroots thing here, and we're going to have to
Yep.
find a spot to make it happen. And we want to make sure that everybody also gets to the game safely because we do know that there is alcohol consumption at the tailgates. So that's also something we have to consider is to make sure that if we are going to be doing this, that there is a way for everybody to get to and from their vehicle to the game safely without having to drive. Because we do not condone drinking and driving, and I want to make that perfectly clear.
You see
But
Brian's question?
well, let's see. Will this parking situation hinder fans coming to the game? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. It's
I think it's
possible.
inconvenient though.
It's highly inconvenient, even though they do have park and ride, which is great.
Mm.
But part
Hmm.
of the experience of a Brahmas game is the tailgate. That's how you build the community. That's how you get to know your fellow fan. That's how you get to know so many people. And taking that away from us, taking that community building
Why
away
they
from
still
us,
talking about Denny's?
like, well, there's a Denny's that's not far
It's
from
like,
there, right?
yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness,
Yeah, it's on the
So
other side of Commerce and
bro! I
37
haven't
there.
had Denny's since like high school.
But there's also that whole area next to Sunset Station. I mean, there's all those parking lots there, by the 13th floor and all those areas.
Hmm.
Maybe we can make contact with one of those folks and get that going, like you said, Jorge. I mean, I know it's going to be privately managed company and all that stuff, but there's got to be a way.
the
And
thing the thing is that as soon as we start saying we have fans willing to pay to park here if you let us tailgate, we'll pay to park once there's money involved. So yeah,
Mhm.
if you're willing to pay to park in the Alamo Dome, okay, let's pay to park somewhere else. And again, speak with our wallets and help out another parking business that will gladly accept us and let us do our thing. But right now I am upset.
Is
I am
is that
upset.
lot D that Kim's talking about? I know it's a lot D, right?
Lot D is on the
Yeah.
opposite end, on the other side of a bridge of 35. It's a very, very small parking lot. I mean, you're talking about maybe under 50 spaces, if that. Um,
Mm.
so it's a very, very small. But they
Are
haven't
are
even
you talk
mentioned Lot D.
are you talking about the lot that's over by the Tower of Americas?
Yep.
Okay, because that should hold more than 50, but I don't think it's going to hold 250 tailgaters. So I mean, you're right. It is small.
Well, you
But
got to think about it. People are going to be buying two spots, so that's limited
mhm.
to about
Oh,
50.
she said it's free too.
Um,
ah,
well,
for
Ain't
Fiesta
nothing in
and
this world
everything, I
free.
don't. Yeah, I don't know that it's going to be free on Fiesta weekend.
so we got Susan here from Fiesta
How
Couture. I
big
know
is your
she.
shop?
Uh, Susan, why don't you shoot us a message after? We'll talk, and if you have a large enough parking lot to accommodate tailgaters, then that's definitely an option that we can explore. Because that's something that we absolutely
Yeah,
and yeah, Fiesta Couture is a small business, and if we can help out another small business like we have in the
For
past,
sure, for sure, for sure.
then
heck
let's
yeah.
do it. So yeah, Susan, shoot me a message and let's talk after the show, and we'll figure that out. Um,
Speaking of talking, though, being that we've got people working on all these situations, why don't we talk about what we can expect for that DC San Antonio game?
yeah, so it's gonna be a low
Great
scoring
segue.
game.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah, it's
Jason,
it 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 so
He's seasoned.
like we said
season bet.
earlier,
There it is.
it's gonna be a defensive shootout. I think if there's a team that scores on defense, that's the team that's gonna win. And San Antonio has lately been scoring on defense. So there is definitely something there, where they say defense wins championships, and I think San Antonio is going to be the prime example, which is why I'm still holding on to this bad boy right here. That's going to win me some money. I'm going to have to go back
Wait,
to Vegas.
move your fingers.
No, I ain't moving no
Nope.
finger.
Let me take a
So
snapshot of
to,
it.
to build off of what Jorge was saying, San Antonio definitely has proven that we've got a very powerful defense, right? DC has already been rattled by some good defenses in Seattle, yeah, in Seattle and in St. Louis. So I would easily put our defense up against their defenses because I think our defense is superior to that. I don't think that that DC is fully ready for what we're going to be bringing on defense. So we 100% have to show up on defense. However, their defense is pretty formidable also.
Yeah,
So our O
It is.
line definitely needs to be ready for them. They love to blitz, absolutely love to blitz.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to
Mm-hmm.
be prepared for that. And I think if our O line shows up and our defense shows up and shows out like they always do, I think we have the absolute best opportunities to win that game and get ready to take it to Houston in Houston.
and you bring up a really good point here about blitzing. So I talked about this after the Houston game. If you looked at the offensive line, there was no calling out blitzers. There was no calling out
Mm-hmm.
formations. You look back at this game,
He was
and
calling them out.
you have Cohn
Who's
saying,
the
"Who's
mic?
the
Who's
mic?
the
Who's
mic?
the mic? Who's
Yeah.
the mic? Who's the mic?" And even when he wasn't calling it out, you saw the center pointing out the mic.
Mm-hmm.
You saw the offensive lineman pointing it out. So I'm hoping that they learn from their film and they, I'm not gonna say that they watch this podcast and they're like, "Oh, hey, he's got a good point."
They
But
probably did.
like that's what you do as an offensive lineman. You call out the defense. You call out what you see, and you let your quarterback know this is who's coming. This is who's coming, and you adjust your blocking scheme to adjust to account for that blitz. And I saw a lot of that this past week, so that really makes me hopeful for going into DC. If they want to blitz, our offensive line is going to be ready. If they continue to do and practice the way that they practiced for Orlando and call out who they see coming, what they see, all the movement they see. That's on the offensive line. And if they keep on doing that, then the DC front seven is going to have a difficult time getting to our quarterback, especially with how mobile he's been.
Yep,
I was just about to say what Cisco said, man. So the key is definitely Cone's comfortability.
yep,
Definitely establish the run game. We got to establish the run game. O line players got to be looking at least decent, like how it did Saturday. And I think the key thing for our defense is for our offense to not turn the ball over, and our defense to get turnovers. That's the key.
hmm
So
Absolutely.
establish a run game, soften them up, do some play action, do some posts. So I mean,
yep,
hey, we got the talent on a wide receiving core. So we just got to
Yep.
make the
yep,
plays, man. We got to make the plays.
Yep.
So
yep. So
And we got to
it
make sure we take care of Cone.
yep.
mhm.
And a lot of that is going to, fall back to the receivers making sure that they're getting open on their routes and that they're actually catching the ball and bringing it down, right? We have seen a couple of games ago that a couple of our guys had a case of the dropsies. So we've got to
Mhm.
make sure that we
Gotta make
secure that
those.
ball and bring it in, get it
Yeah.
down, and Cone will get that ball on target. We've seen that. I mean, he's an extremely accurate quarterback. So, the receivers have to do their job. O line needs to hold. And I think, like I said, at the beginning of the podcast, I think we've got what could very well or could arguably be our best combination now on offense and defense. I think we are now getting to that point where, as I said earlier, we're getting ready to take the car out on the highway and open it up and see what it can truly do. And so this is going to be the biggest test of the season against all aspects of our team, not just offense and defense, but also our coaching staff and being able to make adjustments on the fly and kind of, pick up on what DC is giving up out to us and taking advantage of it and just lighten up that scoreboard on them.
So,
Yeah, Brian, we answered that earlier, man.
yeah,
We
we
don't think they're
answered
gonna
it.
rest their
Yeah,
starters.
we don't think they're going to rest
Mhm.
their starters only because Houston is regressing and they cannot afford to take a week off with the regression that they're doing going into the playoffs, especially if they're going to be facing a San Antonio team that's on the rise. And DC, same thing. They're also regressing, and I don't think that they're going to be taking unless the only way I see them resting is if they have a a comfortable 30 plus point lead going into the fourth quarter. But
Yeah.
even then, they're going to rest with caution because, as you can see in the XFL, anything can happen.
Yeah, there's no
And
Yep.
point of resting, and then you got a game in the playoffs. Then you got another bye week. That's like 2 bye weeks in like 3 weeks. There's no point
yeah,
of resting.
Yep.
yeah.
Not
You gotta
good.
stay hot. Gotta stay hot,
And
man.
and there's one last thing that I want to touch on before I hand it over to Jackie, who we're going to do some ticket giveaways, and I'll let her kind of talk to that. But I know on social media there's been a big debate, there's been a big division between the fan base over a specific wave that has happened, and I'm just
Oh
going to tell
god,
you guys right now. Um,
don't do that shit. That's what we're gonna say. Don't do that shit.
no, that's
Don't
not
do
what I'm
that
going to say.
stuff. Don't do that
Stuff,
stuff.
stuff, stuff,
That,
stuff.
that's not at all what I'm gonna say. What I'm gonna say
I'm gonna
is,
say it.
look, there's gonna
Fuck,
be
don't do that shit.
fans who are
Stuff.
going to there are fans who are gonna want to do the wave, and they're gonna do it regardless. And there's gonna be fans who are gonna try to stop it. I got booed and
Hmm.
called out for trying to stop it,
Yeah, I
because
saw
I,
it.
I don't like it. And then, but the fact of the matter is this is not the week to be divided as a fan base. This is the
Facts.
week where we have to come together and just make as much noise as possible. Noise is the key word, because last week we made Orlando have to switch up to a silent count. If you don't know what a silent count is, so there's no more hut hut anymore, because the offensive line cannot hear the deep, and the receivers cannot hear the quarterback say hut. Basically, the quarterback does one of these or lifts up his leg, and they go on the center, and that throws off chemistry if you're not, and rhythm if you're
And they
not,
waste timeouts. They waste
and it
timeouts.
wastes timeouts.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
Remember
like
that.
so whether you want to do the wave or not do the wave, I don't, at this point, I don't care. I am done with that debate. I am tired of it. But this is not the week to be divided as a fan base. We need to be united, and we need to get into the playoffs, and it's going to take everybody, the players, the coaches, the fans. We have to make
Mhm.
DC's life miserable when they're in our Alamo Dome, and remind the league why this place is the hardest place to play in. Constantly break 100 decibels. I want to be able to get more notifications on this watch saying, "Hey, if you stay in this environment, you're going to go deaf and have hearing damage." I want more of those
What?
notifications. You got to make noise. Exactly,
What?
exactly. So again,
Hey,
not the week
Jeremy,
to be
funny man.
divided. Not the
Jeremy,
week to
funny.
be divided. Um,
Don't
Yep.
stop the kid from doing a wave, man.
yeah. So
So let's
moving on.
agree that let's
We
get
have
out
to
there
agree to
this
disagree.
weekend. Let's agree to get out there. The football etiquette does dictate that noise on defense, no
That's
noise
what it
on
is.
offense. But let's put
Yes,
that debate to the side right now. And let's just make sure that we show up as a fan base and show out to support our team. Okay, because this
united.
is for all the marbles. We
This
absolutely have to win this game if we have any kind of a chance to get to Houston and play them for the XFL South championship game. And trust me, I want to go there and I want to go see my buddy Wade Phillips. And I know he wants to see me. Or maybe he doesn't want to see me. But either way, get me there, right? We've got a little side bet going on the line here. And it's going to depend on all of you fans showing up and supporting your team and getting crazy. We'll find out about it if we actually make it to the playoffs. You'll find out about that side bet. And I 100% will honor that bet. But you guys have to show up and you have to make sure that you support your team and be as loud as you possibly can. I want Tamu's ears bleeding before the second quarter. Okay.
yeah.
And that's going to depend on you guys.
I want
Not
them
me,
to say,
Chris.
like,
Jeremy.
I want them to say that this is I don't like playing in the Alamo Dome. I don't like playing in the Alamo Dome. I
Every
want
team
people
has
to say that.
every team and the coaches have said that they
Yep,
it's
I
gonna
heard
be
it.
loud. It's loud
They
in here.
don't
You
they
gotta
don't
we
they
gotta
don't
find
like it.
something.
They don't
It's
they
loud.
don't they don't
I want
like
it
it.
to be so loud that the team doesn't feel like they have to rile us up in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Like,
I want
Yep.
to be the ones that pump them up, not the other way around.
yeah, which is
True.
also why you will hear my grito crack. You will hear my voice crack, because my voice will be gone
We
when I
yell the entire time.
I'm
Yeah.
yelling the entire time. That last grito that you heard, for everybody who wanted to crack on me, I did it with a freaking migraine because of how much I was yelling and how dehydrated I was. So
It was
um
hot.
again, come out, yell, be loud, and do your thing, San Antonio. We need you.
Side note, something I learned from the second home game: take a leave or ibuprofen or something, several of them before the game. That'll help combat that migraine from yelling so much.
I'm
It,
gonna probably need to take you up on that tip
it
because I had
100% works.
I had a terrible migraine for the second half, and I kept on going, and I thought I was going to faint multiple times. Not
Yep.
even Brahma beer could help me. But on that note, because we have just a couple minutes left, we do have a nice little surprise for some of the fans. For those of you who may want to go to the DC to the Fiesta or the non-Fiesta game at this point. We do have ticket giveaways that the Brahmas organization and the ticket office was very generous to give us, and we want to start off with giving some away tonight. So, Jackie, I'm gonna let you this way. I'm gonna let you take over and handle that one. So
Shoot, I
she's
don't
gonna
know
be
why
the
I get
queen.
stuck with this one now. I was like, you
You
guys
get all the
handle it.
fun.
Ugh.
You get all the
This,
fun, man.
this is the
Come
only time
on.
I can really talk. So, no, so
Dang, she just
yeah.
shot us all out.
You guys just overpower me. I'm just kidding. No, but the Brahma ticket managers and their staff wanted to thank us for all the support. So they gifted us tickets to give away. And how it's going to work is 2 winners, 5-pack of tickets. Even if you got tickets, you got friends you want to bring that have been talking about it, whatever the case is. We're giving out.
Dying to come to a Brahmas
Yeah,
game.
they're dying to
Absolutely
come.
free.
I
Free.
I I post all the time like, hey, if you want to have as much fun as me, you gotta go. Oh, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Parking's not covered, though.
Parking is
You'll
not
be
covered. This
responsible.
is tickets.
Yeah, these are
So
just
how
tickets to
you
get
get
into the
there,
dome.
how you get there is your prerogative. But so it's going to be trivia. These guys are going to be the trivia questions and answers. And we're just going to go with that route. Whoever gets it right and is wanting those a 5-pack of tickets, we got you. After whoever wins, we'll get information after that and we'll transfer them directly to you. So yeah.
Hey, Brian,
So
man.
Yeah. So how about let's do this.
Give
Let's
him out at the
take some.
carnival.
Let's go to the carnival and be like, hey, you know what? Why don't
Oh
you
my
stop
goodness.
wasting your time on the Ferris wheel and cotton candy? Why don't you come watch some
Come
That's
watch
a
the
death
football
football?
game.
trap, anyways.
I
Oh my
mean,
goodness.
carnival death traps are kind of cool. Not gonna lie,
I'm sorry.
but
I
not
get
as
more
cool as the
adrenaline
Brahmas
in a
game.
game. Yeah, I get more adrenaline
True.
at that
Well,
football game than I would.
how about we give it to the staff of the carnival and see how they run their carnival then? Hmm? Yeah.
It won't be no
At the
carnival.
car
They all
at the
gonna be
car for
gone.
the carnies.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's give it to
All,
the
all,
carnies. They get wild.
all three of the carnies will be at the game. Nobody will run the Ferris wheel or the tilt-a-whirl.
Exactly. Bingo.
All
Right
Tell them
there.
right.
all.
Problem
Hey, tell them
solved.
Well,
all
no, I
go in the
won't. No, I
game, and then
won't.
we park in the parking lot and start tailgating. Just go
There
in
you
there
Yes,
go.
early. Tell
mama.
them it start
You
early.
could
Tell them
come with
start
me,
early.
mama.
All
Okay.
right.
So
So
how are we doing the trivia questions? Are we going to post them on the Facebook page? Jackie, are you going to ask the fans these questions? How are we doing all
No,
this?
you guys are gonna ask the fans now, and we're just gonna monitor these comments. So whatever comes
all right.
in.
So I got a question. I want to ask the first
All right, here
question.
goes the first
There
question.
it
If you want
is.
these
First
tickets,
question. All right. So who was the first person to catch the golden sombrero this season?
Ooh.
ooh,
That's not an official stat. That's going to be hard to look up, guys. You have to be paying attention for that.
Yeah, you have to be
Ooh,
paying
yes, that's a
attention.
fact. You got to be watching the
That
game.
you have to be
Chris, don't answer. Chris, do not answer. I
maybe
don't
we
even.
could also
So,
give multiple choice if you want to make it just a
Nah,
tad bit
let's see. Let's see
easier.
what answers we get first. Then
I
we'll
want to
see.
see what answers we get. So I want to know who was the first player to catch the golden sombrero this season.
Nope, John.
No, I want a name.
No, yeah, name.
These
Oh my
hands.
These
All right,
goodness.
hands,
these
nope.
hands. That's a good
At least it was
answer.
kept clean. At
Was
least
Nope,
it
it
was kept
Tom.
Barco? It
clean.
was not. It was not Barku. No.
Can't ask Google.
Yeah,
That's why these
Google's
questions
not
are
gonna
perfect.
know.
Google ain't gonna know.
You're gonna have
Google
to
ain't gonna
rewind the
know.
game.
You're
You
gonna.
gotta you gotta go down to
It
Brahma's
was.
Instagram page.
Do you want to make it easier and tell them if it was offense or defense?
Okay, I'll give you guys a clue. It
You
was
know
a
damn well they
defensive
went on
player.
offense.
It was a defensive
They
player
could
who
have
caught
this
it.
last game, but they
Nope.
didn't come.
Oh well,
No,
Beasley was
well,
last game. No, he said the
Beasley
first
was the
person.
last game. I want the first person who caught the golden sombrero and started the tradition.
So multiple choice. So we gave
Yeah,
already. It was on defense.
All right, it was on defense. It was after an interception.
Nope, not Williams.
And it was not a defensive lineman. I'll give you guys that.
Yeah, they're not gonna get this. One of my favorite players too.
Nope.
Nope.
No, it wasn't
Not
Delonte.
Delonte Scott. Nope.
Nope. Wasn't Delonte.
They're gonna
Wasn't
start going down
Williams.
the roster.
I know.
Was
Nope,
not Basher.
It said defense.
Defense.
Can I use a lifeline?
No lifelines.
Yeah, it's that easy.
Oh,
Look
see,
at the
Donna
pictures.
gave you another hint. See?
Yeah.
Better hurry up.
It's been on Instagram. It's been on Facebook.
Mhm.
There's actually an advertisement, and if you got a certain email today, it was in the email.
Yes, John got it.
John got it.
Number
Cam
8,
Kelly
first winner.
Cam Kelly was the first person to catch the golden sombrero. That's a question
Kim,
that
you're
Google
late,
will
Kim.
not answer because the golden sombrero has not been established as a thing yet in the XFL. It's a Brahma thing, but it's not an XFL thing. So John, you shoot.
Jay, I think he down the field.
So
Jason, man.
So John, shoot us a message.
You see what Brian said?
We'll get you. Yeah, it was Jay after he downed a few Brahma beers.
Oh yeah, it might have been. Hey man, no judgment zone. All right.
All right. So that is.
I got it down.
Sorry.
First
So
5-pack.
we got the first 5-pack given away.
Okay, Kim, relax.
All right.
Be ready.
All right. So next question: who wants to take it?
Go ahead, Jay.
Okay, so my question is going to be, who holds the record this year for the longest kickoff return for a touchdown?
It's a good one.
Now,
That one should be hot. We should have all types of comments.
Is it a Brahma? Is it a defender? It's definitely. I can tell you right now, it's not Arlington. No one from Arlington does this because they're not good enough.
Nope. No, it should definitely be. It should be a Brahma.
Okay, so
goodness.
we've narrowed it down to the best team in the XFL, the Brahmas.
It'd be funny at the games because I'd be hearing the people in the stands be like,
"No, John, yeah, John, you already got it.
Yeah, John, you're eliminated.
Joseph already got it.
Yeah, already got it. Joseph got it right there.
Got it. All right,
Who's Fred Lane?
There it is.
Who's Fred Lane?
Wait.
Oh, Kim had it, but you was late, Kim. Joseph already answered.
Joseph already got it. So Joseph, shoot one of us a message. And we will transfer you the tickets. We'll just need some information from you, of course, to be able to do the ticket transfer.
They'd be like, people in the stands be like, get it. They'd be like, yeah, 6, get the ball 6, get the ball 82. I'm like, y'all don't know their names, man.
Yep.
We've known them. We've known these friends for 8 weeks, 9 weeks now. You got other than our good friend Mr. John Parker Romo.
Joe Powell. That was 2020. Joe Powell returned it in 2020, not this year.
Downtown Fred Brown.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's right. So John and Joseph, you guys shoot us a message. Who holds the tickets?
Warren does. So I'll get the information and he'll make
that's
a
the
transfer.
boss.
All right,
the boss man.
So I want both y'all message Jackie after the show, and then she will coordinate with Boss Man to. He hates us calling him that too.
I call him Boss Man. He gonna watch this and be like, "Why y'all
go?" Okay, not Boss Man, El Jefe. So we'll coordinate with El Jefe, with the whole walkie-talkies and everything, and we'll make sure we get you guys the tickets before the game. That way, you guys bring out. That's 10 tickets that we just gave out. You guys absolutely bring your friends, bring your family. These are absolutely free tickets.
In a really good section too.
In a really good section. And so 108.
That's the lit section.
The lit section.
That's the section that gets rowdy and that gets people booed.
Hey, don't bring nobody that's quiet either. We
Oh
Yeah.
everybody need to
yeah.
lose their voice.
Yeah, and so everyone, I expect everyone to lose their voice.
Get ready to
Like
dance La Chona.
Jay said, there's going to
Yes.
be get your ibuprofen ready. You're gonna need it. And be ready to do some gritos. I don't care if my voice cracks. I don't care if my voice is low. I don't care if I'm losing my voice. We're gonna be screaming our asses off.
Or is it
And
103?
and
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
whoa,
So, guys, I am on day 3 of recovering. Well, day 2 technically, recovering from Saturday's game. Your voice will come back, I promise you. All right.
yes,
It may not be fun for a couple of days, but you got to ball out for your team because they've been balling out for us for 9 weeks now. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
show up, show out, get loud, get rowdy, take a couple of plays from my playbook if you need to. Um, that only works when you're right on the enemy sideline, so you can make fun of them. But definitely show your support for the team, man. Get out there, get crazy, show them how much you love them because they sure love you guys.
So I stand corrected. It's in section 103. Close
all
enough,
right.
but
Still pretty
we'll
good
still get
section.
lit. Very good
Still a pretty
section.
good section. So yeah, we're gonna get wild. So yeah, so everybody, thank you so much for joining the Horns Forward podcast. Again, I'm your host, Viva Texas, accompanied by my co-hosts, Miss 210 Brahmasita, Jackie Martinez. We have SAJ down there in the corner, and we have Mr. King Mars DJ down there, who's been in the Alamo
99, big
basement.
99.
Big 99, who's been hanging out in the basement
No.
Big 99
all
basement.
day. So
Oh Lord.
so yeah, so let's go, everybody. We'll see you guys. We'll be back on Friday to get everybody hyped up for the game. So we'll see you guys again Friday. Until then, have a good
Let's
rest of your week.
go.
We're gonna
Horns
see if
forward,
y'all fill them
everybody.
seats too for them 10 tickets.
Yeah, we better
We're
fill them
looking.
seats. I know, John.
Yep.
John, I got faith in our boys, John and Joseph. They they've been showing up. They've been consistent. We good. So I got
Yep.
confidence. But again, thank you everybody for joining the Horns Forward podcast. We love you guys, and we'll see you guys on Friday. Until then, Horns Forward, everybody. Peace.
Let's go.